right now we're going to spend some more time on the campaign as we welcome to the studio, as we do each Friday, Alan Kelly, CEO, founder of Playmaker Systems, plays2run.com. That is Plays, the numeral 2run.com. Good morning.
Happy Friday, Tim.
What a week it was. It's always a great
Where
week.
do we begin?
On the campaign trail.
So many plays, so little time.
Yeah. So what struck your fancy this week as you were watching in the you were seeing the badminton? Yeah. I mean, somebody asked me, have you ever played badminton?
Well, of course.
In a very, very sort of condescending way, like badminton. I said, this is a great game. It's kind of an equalizer. Even with kids can play. You know, you don't have to have huge strength and things like that. I always thought badminton was a fun backyard game.
I'm not ashamed to admit it. I love badminton.
Yeah, croquet, no, but.
But we saw 8 athletes dismissed. They were,
I know.
They were swatted out for burying their shuttlecocks into the net, and I just could not
for playing to lose.
Playing to lose.
Yeah.
And I just can't help but reflect on Romney and his trip to Europe, especially as he starts to swing through London, and. You know, a week ago we sat here saying this is bulletproof. Even given President Obama's substantial goodwill overseas, it is the right trip to make. It's the right timing. This is really Mitt Romney's opportunity to muff, and he did. He had some tough moments in London, which I would actually.
Unlike the badminton players, I don't think he was intentionally. Grounding his shuttlecock into the dirt.
That's where the metaphor entirely fails.
Yes, exactly.
But on the other hand, that's right.
Race.
Oops. But on the other hand, if you're one of the fathers of the GOP, I think you really have to be wondering what in the world is going on here. What does it take to put together a good string here of successes? Romney is really only able to put together kind of blips. He's not able to stair-step his weeks together, and he loses this one. He won last week.
He's a quarterback who can't go up to the line and play and call an audible. I think that's a part of his problem because when it's a set piece, often it's done well. When he has to improvise, that's when he falls short.
We talked 4 years about him.
4 years ago, yeah.
4 years ago about him that he had, to me and then, a remarkable tin ear. And I think your analogy is good, too. This is just not somebody who knows how to riff. And gets himself into trouble regularly. He can't blame his campaign. That trip was well conceived. It was somewhat high risk because, again, he's going up a president who is really fairly well liked across the pond. But he had the Olympics as the first stop. That was bulletproof. That was very, very difficult for Obama to counter, and he almost had to cede the week to him. But he didn't because he made odd statements in Israel, and an aide blew up in Poland. For whatever those reasons, it wasn't a good week, and you almost have to wonder, is he trying to throw the match? Of course he's not. But for heaven's sakes, I don't know if Barack Obama could be any luckier to be facing the candidate that he is.
Yeah, the Kevlar vest certainly had some problems. Well, talk about some of the plays. I mean, you know, you're writing about this week. You've got a couple of things here that you've talked about in your post. And for people who don't know, yes, Alan also posts online, so you can read some of these things and get a little bit more depth and be able to soak it in.
The blog is called Plays for the Presidency at plays2run.com.
Okay. So you said that there was, you expected Obama to pause. Is that an actual play?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
You wouldn't think so because to pause is to do nothing. It would be, at best, you'd have to say it's a non-play play. But very often, to do nothing is smart. It's smart strategy because sometimes you can't beat the market or what's happening in a marketplace, or sometimes you might like to let it coalesce. Maybe it's moving in the direction you want it to. But pausing for offensive or defensive reasons can be quite strategic.
He did that with some of his campaign messaging.
Governor Romney's plan would cut taxes for the folks at the very top, roll back regulations on big banks, and he says that if we do, our economy will grow and everyone will benefit. But you know what? We tried that top-down approach. It's what caused the mess in the first place. I believe the only way to create an economy built to last is to strengthen the middle class, asking the wealthy to pay a little more so we can pay down our debt in a balanced way.
Okay, so you call that a recast.
Yeah, and it was very well scripted. That's one of the best ads that I've seen him do. It was full of plays. He has gone from early in his campaign from a rather subtle mode, a play we called a ping. It's just the name we want for it, of a suggestive, subtle reference of saying essentially, "Psst, look, it was W's fault." Okay, okay. Hope our radio listeners can hear that. But and now he really is, in a way, coming right out and just saying it. Look, this is top down. This is trickle down. That's what got us here. That won't work. So he is now finally and directly blaming the previous administration through Romney for the fix that he's in. So I thought that was it was a good art in the strategy world.
Mitt Romney, on the other hand, has been...
President Obama, you're killing us out here. Through hard work and a little bit of luck, we built this business. Why are you demonizing us for it?
All right, so what's he playing?
Well, this is in reference to Obama's reference that you can't succeed.
You didn't build that.
Yeah, we all stand on someone else's shoulders.
Shoulders of giants and not so giant.
Yeah, and the Republicans were able to very effectively recast that, as a self-aggrandizing statement by Obama that you can't do anything without, quote, big government. And I think it was a bit of a stretch. But I think for many, many people it also worked, and it forced Obama to go on the defense and to use and not to be on the offense. I mean, very often if you can't stop a player, at least you can. If you can't stop them from doing what they want to do, at least you should stop them from doing anything. And so I think in that regard, their play was effective.
The lantern you called it, the president ran, and that is to actually call attention to his own gaffe. Kind of an interesting play.
He is very good at that. He is.
I often thought he used the straw man too much because I thought he often raised objections to his plans as if they needed him to raise the objection, as if he needed to do that instead of them. But I guess it's a preempt in some ways.
Well, that's interesting. Well, there are two plays in our system of 24 strategies that are essentially preemptive. One is a lantern, and it's simply a term that's taken from Chris Matthews' book, Hardball, where he talks about shining a light or shining a lantern on your problems. And the other one is more of what we call a trump. We used to call it a preempt, but it's where you get ahead or you play a card or you try to reverse competitive advantage. Where Obama seems unique, and it's sort of his strategy play, is that he is willing to go places rhetorically where you wouldn't expect him to go. He takes a full ad and he talks about his opponent. He names them by name. He characterizes his initiative, and that is generally something that's not done. There is a strong school of thought, thou shalt not talk about or talk of or mention one's competitor. Obama does it all the time. He'll always talk about the threat, and that has some risks, but allows him to control the rate of the burn, if you will, of that hot issue.
Did you say you wanted to ask me a question? Before we went on, Al and I were talking. I'm sorry, I got a little distracted for a moment, only because we've had a couple of things going on here. But
well, okay. Here's the thing: is I'm driving in and I'm listening to I think it's Josh, and we're talking about how everybody forgets on a new media cycle,
right?
And I'm thinking that. We thought that Obama would by and large run a pause as Romney went to Europe. The Olympic play was so strong. We thought maybe kind of be quiet, go, well, he didn't at all. And so during the Olympics, if you watched for any amount of time at all, you'd see an Obama ad, you'd see a Romney ad. Obama ad, Romney. So you get tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for tat,
Right.
And what you ultimately get in situations like that is really same as Coke and Pepsi, Corona, Heineken, and you get a sort of messaging or what we call a playmaker's gridlock, because for every play run there is an equally elegant counterplay, and so what they're doing is that they are locking each other up. I don't think that they're making any progress, and I think both campaigns know that. So my question is, with this large premise I've given, is it possible that both campaigns think that the tie goes to them?
Well, I think the one thing is that obviously there won't be a tie, can't be a tie at the end of the day. So what they're trying to do, I guess, is go after that small group of people who haven't made up their mind, because one has to assume that they're using these ads to either persuade or motivate, to persuade somebody who might be on the fence,
or also strengthen their base,
or motivate somebody who already is one of the fold and then will be inspired to go out and vote. I think at this point it's just too early to figure out if that's going to do anything. I mean, the Romney campaign has been trying to continue this message of what the failure of this presidency has been, and the Obama campaign has been continually pushing a message of Mitt Romney is just dangerous for the country. It was similar to what we saw in 1980 when Jimmy Carter was running against Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan is a dangerous man. He's going to push the button. We're going to go to war, and he'll destroy the country. And in the case of Jimmy Carter, it was, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And so I think that what we're seeing right now is just setting the stage for what is going to happen and be a very nasty couple of months. I don't think the tie goes to anybody, though. I think they have to figure out a way to get that last person across the line. There's never a tie in this. The tie doesn't go. I mean, if the tie goes to the incumbent, you could say that, but I can't imagine that anyone is advocating. They're going to go for every scrap of vote that they can get.
But these are really bright people that I've come to respect.
Smarter than I am when it comes to this stuff.
As I look at them and their moves, whether it's Axelrod or the boys in Boston, as I analyze their moves, at least through the prism or the frame of my own system, I have a lot of respect for them. So I have to figure that they understand that when they run an ad, it gets countered. And when the other guys run an ad, it gets countered. And we get into a freeze. Everything gets stopped. Everything
but I don't think
gridlocked.
they're counting on the counter. I mean, you never anticipate
I
somebody
agree.
else.
So
you never anticipate that your enemy will act in his own self-interest.
Good. But I think that they must know at some point that this stuff freezes, and that I think that they each are thinking that we can freeze them and we win if we do. They both have the same assumption. This is what's interesting to me.
I think you could be right, and you know probably more about it than I do, but I think that they all think that the latest one is going to turn the trick. This is going to do it. You know, this is going to make the case. Or it's going to do what they needed to do. And, So, but it is going to be close. Anyway, plays2run.com, always fascinating, Alan. As always, thanks. Have a great week.
See you next week.